All right, 210. Hey guys, this is Natasha with Nothing in 210 Podcast. Thank you to VodPod Media for housing and producing, and to Latina Podcast Network for having me on your network. Guys, if you are listening, go watch. And if you're watching, go listen and go like and subscribe and do all the things. You're going to want to see who I have anyway. And I say it all the time, but I mean it. I have a fantastic guest, so please introduce yourself.
My name is Kevin. I'm originally from sunny Southern California, a small town called Santana. It's up in northern Orange County, born and raised there. And then at 18 years old, I came out here to San Antonio, joined the military, and this happened to be my first duty station. So since then, I've been able to grow into my own person away from my hometown, and it's been a great opportunity.
Yeah, well, thank you for your service.
Appreciate that.
What branch was it?
Air Force.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, where do you want to start? I mean, there's so much to a person, right?
Right.
So where would you like to start? You want to start from California, or you want to start from your time in the Air Force?
Well, for California,
Yeah.
it was just I had a very, I would say, common upbringing. You know, I'm first generation, firstborn here in the United States from my immediate family.
Nice.
And grew up in a single parent household. And it kind of shaped how things went on in my life. You know, I was a good student up until I hit like puberty, and then girls started paying attention to me.
Yeah.
And then it was like all downhill from there.
Yeah.
Which is why I ended up having my kid when I was in high school.
It happens.
Yeah. I like to say when I tell people that, I'm like, hey, I'm Mexican. You know, I stay true to my race. You got to start young and you end like way later.
Yeah.
So I was really kind of just, I knew I couldn't stay there. I love it there. I love the beaches. I love my friends. I love my family. I love the food. But I just knew that if I stayed there and I took the community college route, then I probably wouldn't get anywhere and I wouldn't have benefits for my son.
Yeah.
So in my junior year of high school, when I found out, I ended up signing up for the military, and I had to have both my parents sign off because I was a minor. And at first it wasn't well received, but ultimately they understood that, hey, like I'm just trying to get ahead in life and make sure that I'm being able to provide for my son,
Right.
my oldest son. So when I came out here, it was a shoo-in. I mean, San Antonio is such a beautiful city.
Thank you.
It's just like over there where it's like a big Hispanic population.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really easy to transition over here. And you know, I had my military friends, but things didn't start to flourish until I started getting out in the city, meeting people that, you know, have been here for a long time or have come from other places. I like to think of San Antonio as a city full of opportunity, because you meet people that come here and they're from the Valley, they're from El Paso,
Mm-hmm.
they're from Houston, they're from everywhere.
Yeah.
And they come here looking to, you know, make a life for themselves that's better than they would be afforded back at home. And so, yeah, it's been great. The only caveat I will say is the Mexican food.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Because
here we
you
go.
have Tex-Mex. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with Tex-Mex. I like Tex-Mex.
Uh-huh.
But it doesn't compare to traditional.
True.
And so, but like they have traditional here too.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to go out there and find it in the community.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite spots, back when I used to live near Ingram Park Mall, is this place called Tacos y Burritos Metro Basilica Número 2.
Wow.
Mini tacos, good
That's a
menudos.
mouthful.
Yeah. What's crazy is when I was in the military and during lunch, they would have me order, but they would just have me say the name of the store randomly because it was just like something funny to say. So it's been great. I absolutely love San Antonio.
Awesome. Okay, so how long were you in the Air Force?
8 years, 8 months, and 9 days. Not that anyone's counting.
No,
but
yeah, definitely not. Yeah. No X's on the calendar.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you receive your injury during that time, or?
Ooh, so that's a complicated story.
Okay.
Because I had back issues stemming from the military.
Okay.
The thing was, you know, I was young. I was like 21 all the way up to 24 when I started getting my back issues. And I would go to the doctor and they'd be like, well, due to the nature of your job, we expect you to have some back issues. Like I'm carrying full plates and sidearm every day in and out of vehicles and doing training and that stuff.
What was your MOS? Sorry.
I was security forces.
Okay.
Yeah. I was security forces for the first 7 years.
Okay.
And then my last year I retrained to education and training because I couldn't arm up anymore because like my health just started to deteriorate. But at the time, it was like, man, I just want to be back out there with my team.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be training. I want to be deploying. I deployed 3 times in 5 years, which probably wasn't good for my body either.
Yeah.
But I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. When I was stateside, I would always be like, I'd rather be deployed.
Really?
Yeah. So being deployed, while it is like an adjustment and you do have to be more cautious and aware of everything, the camaraderie is unmatched.
Right.
Like you're with people, you're living with people that are from all over the country, and whether your personalities match or not, you have to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to get along, at work especially. You know, you have to keep that professionalism no matter what. And so it's kind of like, I like to look at it like high school when you're out there. Like a little rumor starts here and then it ends up over here. The story changes a million times. But it's that group is so tight knit.
Yeah.
You know, you get to know people for more than what you see them here.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where did you deploy to?
I went twice to Afghanistan.
Okay.
Well, my first one was to Shindan Air Base. It was like a little fob. There was only one entry control point. We ended up building the second one. It was just that was probably my craziest deployment for sure.
Fun crazy or bad crazy?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Yeah.
Because the camaraderie was so good.
Yeah.
But then also like a lot of the stuff that I got to witness and experience is something that training didn't prepare me for. Yeah. It's like training prepares you for situations, how to react to certain situations, whether you're going for safety or you're returning fire, whatever the case may be. Now, I lost my train of thought with that. But so it prepares you for those kind of things, but it doesn't prepare you for some of the carnage that you see. Yeah. You know, and it's really difficult to kind of adjust to that. And you look towards your peers to see how they're responding. Mm. And at that time, this was 2011. So mental health wasn't really a thing that was pushed. Yeah. They had them available, but it wasn't like they would come out and try to talk to you and stuff like that. You had to go seek it. So, of course, I just did the natural thing and I followed my peers, you know, because I thought that's the way that, I mean, I was young. I was 18. Yeah. I was really impressionable. So I just wanted to be, you know, a good troop, a good leader. And so I would just follow what they were doing. And it worked. It worked to, you know, until it snuck up on me later on in life. Mm. My second one was to Qatar, which is a Gulf state. It's a non-combat zone, but it's more of like a readiness position in case you need a forward deploy. For example, during that time, a lot of my friends ended up going to Jordan. Not that that's a combat zone, but at the time there was like some sort of uprising that they needed to send troops out there just to kind of, you know, mitigate any kind of situation. And then my last one was to Kandahar Air Base, which is a really popular one. Mm-hmm. And at that time, we were already withdrawing. So that was in 2015-16. So we were withdrawing. So a lot of the like stuff that was on there was closing down and stuff. And so it was a very unique experience because early in 2011, we were still on the offensive. Mm. Now, 2015-16, we were more like, hey, like let the Afghan National Army take care of it. So whatever happened, their first, unless it's like direct, an attack to our forces directly, just let the ANA take it. Yeah. And during December, I don't remember the exact date. I ended up getting forward deployed to Helmand Province, and Tecto-based Dwyer, and for a raid. And that same day that we left, our base ended up getting attacked. Oh wow! Yeah, like a pretty significant attack. But the ANA took care of it. Yeah. You know, our forces were just there in like defensive posture. Yeah. Prepared in case, you know, they broke wire and they got in. But it did take some time, but they took care of it. So yeah.
Awesome. I'm glad that everybody was okay, or you guys were okay. Mm-hmm. So I guess kind of like going back to the rest of your time, and like we got to tell your story. You're here. This is the platform.
Yeah. Okay. So I got hurt, and so I would go to the doctor, and they would say, "Hey, we expect this, you know, because of your injury, because of your job." And so I was like, "Okay, cool. I'm young. I just want to be back with my team." Well, things progressively started to get worse, especially after my last deployment. My body just wasn't responding the same way, and I would go to the doctor, and they finally took an MRI, and they said, "Okay," they took it of my lumbar, and they said, hey, you have, an L1, L2 impingement. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I'll just do physical therapy. Well, I got out of the military. I was medically retired.
Okay.
And then I went to school, trade school for air conditioning, HVAC.
Okay.
So I did that, and I was working with a company. Well, while at the job, I was just like bent over, not doing anything crazy, just cutting like a piece of duckboard, which is like the spongy material. And I felt a pop and a shock shoot all the way from my upper back to like my legs.
Yeah.
So bad that it buckled me. Never in my life has anything like that happened.
Yeah.
And my helper was downstairs at the time. And after a while, he came up because he was going to help me remove the old air handler. And he's like, hey, man, what's going on? And I was like, dude, like, I can't, like, I'm having a hard time getting up. And so he tried to come and help me. And it's funny because he always used to get shit on for everything by our boss because he was a helper. So he automatically assumed that he was like the culprit and everything.
Yeah.
Well, in his attempt to come help me, he ended up stepping off the plywood and going through the drywall.
No.
Yeah. And so it was funny.
Yeah.
Because like, while I'm hurt, it's like, oh man, like they're not going to think about me.
Right.
They're going to think about you messing up,
Gotta repair that.
So I ended up having to call my boss, and my boss came to pick me up. I was in excruciating pain. Whenever he would break, oh man, I would feel like significant pain in my groin, like terrible, my back, my groin. And then my wife at the time, she ended up taking me to the hospital. When I was in the hospital, I told them my symptoms and stuff like that. It was such a crazy situation because they didn't even look at my back. They said, okay, you have a history of back problems. So we know that that could be one issue. Let's look at the other issue, which was the significant groin pain. So what they ended up doing was they took an STD test of me, and they did an ultrasound to rule out testicular torsion, which is when testicles like wrap around each other, cutting off circulation. But the crazy part was having to sit in the room with my ex-wife while these results came back in for the STD test.
Yeah.
Because I know that I was good.
Yeah.
But I can only imagine what's going on through her mind.
Of course.
Right? So it was super awkward. Anyway, the results came back negative for testicular torsion and the STDs. They still gave me antibiotics. They said follow up with your primary care. Yep, that was the thing. They
released you.
Yeah, they released me. This was peak pandemic, COVID time. So it was like, hey, we don't have the beds for stuff like this.
What the hell?
We were saving the beds for people with COVID. Okay, cool. But again, I'm dumb. Like, you don't got to tell me twice, like I work a labor intensive job. Like I just assumed it was just all a part of it, just getting older and, being in and out of the attics, up and down roofs.
Yeah.
But yeah, so things were cool. So I missed work for 2 weeks because I had to let my back heal, and I was going to physical therapy at the time. Things started getting better. Fast forward 4 months, now it's May, almost the end of May, Memorial Day weekend. Worst time to go to the hospital because the A team is out.
Yeah.
And the B team is in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
No offense to the B team.
Yeah, no offense to the B team. But I started losing sensation in my left leg. But it didn't feel like I was dying. It didn't feel like anything crazy. It just, my lower back was really sore at the time. And like if I had just done like 100 deadlifts and I had a really good workout. So I went there. What worried me was losing sensation in my leg.
Yeah.
Like I was walking at work and my ankle would fold. And so I called and I'm like, hey, like I need to go to the hospital. And they're like, dude, you got to finish your service calls.
No, you don't.
I did anyway because
good for
again,
you, but
like,
yeah.
I mean, I got to put food on the table. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But your body's your body.
Yeah.
For people out there.
In hindsight,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
100% right.
Yeah.
So when I went to the doctor, they ran a series of tests. I went back to the ER, the same hospital. They did a series of tests, and they're like, all right, we got to do, something's not right here. We got to do an MRI on your thoracic.
Yeah.
So when they did that, they came back really concerned and said, hey, man, we have to do surgery like yesterday. Basically, what they found was signs of old hemorrhaging and new hemorrhaging.
Oh, my God.
So basically, I had a cluster of blood vessels rupture in my spinal cord. And since there's no actual... since there's no actual place for the blood to kind of like flow,
Yeah.
it started to pool up in my spinal cord. And over time, it started to kill my nerve endings. So
Is that what that initial pop was?
yeah. Yeah, in hindsight, like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I had my first surgery. I was still walking just fine. They said, hey, man, you're going to bounce back. It'll be all good. 2 days after that initial surgery, I lost sensation in my right leg. Like, I remember I was in the bathroom. I came out, and I was using a walker, and then I just collapsed. I buckled. And the person that had to call the nurses over was my roommate that was in the hospital with me.
Yeah.
And so they called them, and they got me back into the bed, and I told them I explained to them my symptoms, and they got me back into surgery. However, lo and behold, I had 2 different surgeons operate on me that didn't communicate. They didn't talk to each other. That first surgeon went on vacation. That second surgeon came in, and he opened me up, and he did a washout. And he didn't do anything really. And after that second surgery, I just ended up completely paralyzed. So my level of injury is a T6, Asia 8 complete. And so basically my level of feeling or function stops at my top abs. The complete is, so for paralysis, there's 2 forms. There's complete and incomplete. Complete means that you don't have control of your bowel or bladder. Mm-hmm. And then you have incomplete, which you still have some function. And they were pretty positive. They said, hey, like within 6 months, like people typically get feeling back, and I believe that you're gonna get feeling back. 6 months came and went, and nothing. Yeah. So it was a pretty tough time, and at the end of the day, it's what sucks is when you look at my medical paperwork, I have neurosurgeons and radiology disagreeing on my diagnosis. So there's no real answer as to exactly what it is or exactly what caused it. We just have the symptoms leading up to it. And yeah, it's pretty interesting, right?
Were you blown up at all?
No. I do have a TBI. Yeah. History of TBI. Yeah. But I was never blown up. Some falls. Just, I would say, like, standard stuff. I didn't, like, at no point did I think my life was at risk. Right. Because if I would have waited to go to the hospital another day or two, it would have been a stroke.
Really?
Yeah, I was at stage 2 of the total stage 3.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
So people failed you on multiple levels.
Yeah, but I failed myself too. I have to take accountability for not being more on top of my...
Yes and no, right? Because if you didn't know, you only know what you know.
Right.
So that's when, like, medical professionals, and I am one, so I'm not, like, talking shit, but, like, that's where medical professionals come in, is, okay, yes, you had that pain, they ruled that out. But really, if you felt that, to me, immediately, if you would have said, I felt this pop, and I felt this burning, and I would have been like, whoa, like, red flag, like, everywhere. Like, let's check this out. Yeah. But again, you only know what you know.
I mean, I trusted them, 100%.
Of course.
100%.
Medical professionals are the number 1 trusted profession, like, in the country. And, I'm not saying it's like that specific person, but sometimes it comes down to that. And then for you to have some sort of recovery, right? Mm-hmm. So you're like, of course you're like in your head, all right, cool, yeah, I'm on the mend. Mm-hmm. And then for those surgeons not to, like, I mean, there was just such a gap. Like, I've been in those areas and, like, worked in those areas, like, at minimum read the notes. Right. Like, it's not, I don't want to say I'm sorry, right? Because it's not coming from, like, a place of pity or anything like that at all. But from a medical professional, like, to, just in general, like, I'm sorry that the system failed you. Right. In that aspect.
Yeah. What's crazy is, in hindsight, looking at it, it's just when I came in there, went into the hospital, I gave them all my symptoms. Right. And they wanted to narrow it down to one thing. So they decided. So when I told them it was back pain and groin pain, they took it on themselves based on my medical history to just look at, like, testicular torsion and like an STI or STD. Yeah. And so it's like, man, like, if all you had to do was send me, like, have me wait another hour or two, yeah, and I would have gone back for an MRI and maybe it would have shown something.
It would have.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's a difficult situation, but at the end of the day, I'm happy to still be alive.
Of course.
You know, I'm treating this like a second chance at life.
Of course.
And not many people get this opportunity.
Right.
So now it's just, making the most of it and, being present every single day.
Yeah.
Making an effort to I get out the house every single day.
Good.
I mean, I have my days where, I just kind of want to be lazy and stay inside and play video games.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'm out every day doing something, going to the park, wheeling my wheelchair.
Yeah.
And right now I got a new dog.
Oh, nice.
Her name is Raven. She's
cute.
She's a rescue.
Okay.
But we're getting her spun up to be a service dog.
Okay.
And so it's a lot of training.
Yeah.
Just a lot of consistency, and it's every day.
Yeah.
Every day, training 3 times a day.
Nice.
And so it keeps me, active, and it keeps me out of the house. It keeps me just focused on something outside of myself.
Yeah. I mean, I love your thought process, and that, like you said, like, this is your second chance at life, right? And the fact that you're sitting here like this giant smile on your face. And I'm sure that you initially went through an array of emotions, right? As anyone would. So if you don't mind, like, try to, if you're comfortable, walk me through some of those emotions, because going back to like your story that you started with, right? You're medically discharged. So people don't understand, like, when people are in the military and they plan on making it a career, or it is a career, it's like, okay, thank you for your service, bye. How do you reacclimate into being a normal citizen, right?
Right.
There's no classes for that. There's nothing. It's go out and figure it out. So there's that, right? That's your mental health. Then you go through this traumatic experience, because it is, right? So now you're kind of doubling down. So I'm sure you've had to go through some mental health, not training, but at this point, right?
Right.
But worked with medical health professionals. But if you don't mind walking me through, like, kind of like what you went through initially, like when they told you, like, you're not gonna walk again.
So at first it really sucked.
Yeah.
Like, it was tough to understand, but I felt some level of comfort. Like, I was glad that whatever the issue was taken care of.
Yeah.
And I just felt like if I trusted God, then I would get through this. Like, I grew up really strict Catholic household. And so I just leaned on my faith, which hasn't always been, it's been like always a work in progress for me, because I lost a little bit of that when I was deployed and I started to experience things that kind of made me question a lot of things. But for whatever reason, I really leaned on it when this happened. And I was trusting of the doctors when they said, hey, within 6 months, you're going to get feeling back. So I'm like, okay, just got to keep doing the right thing. Make sure that I'm strong for my family. I was married at the time, so make sure that I'm strong for, my wife and kids, and my mom, my sisters, my little brother and my youngest little brother and sister, and all my family. Because I do believe it's not what happens to you, it's how you react to or respond to what happens to you.
Absolutely.
But I ended up going to Mass in the hospital, probably my 3rd week there, and it just hit me. It just hit me, and I'm not gonna lie, I was crying like a little baby. Yeah. I couldn't hold it back. Yeah. Because I think the realization set in that I can't function like I used to. Like, at the time at the hospital, I couldn't get out of bed without someone having to help me into a wheelchair. And it wasn't like this wheelchair, which is super awesome. It was like those big bulky wheelchairs. Yeah. And then I had to have like an IV bag connected to me, and I had to get escorted around. And so it was really difficult. I was swollen everywhere. I just didn't feel like myself. Yeah. And so having been through a lot of therapy really helped, like that CBT, telling like that positive reinforcement. Right. But I think with grief, that's a whole different animal. Yeah. Because even since then, it's I think things are a lot better now, but it still hits me. Yeah. From time to time. Like, whenever 4 weeks ago was my 3-year anniversary, May 29th, the day that we were supposed to originally have our podcast. Yeah. It just lined up that way. I didn't plan that, by the way. Yeah. That was my 3-year anniversary. So usually around then, I've noticed that I get kind of like down in the dumps a little bit. My mood changes. but yeah, I mean, it's been a tough journey, but I'm thankful that, you know, I am covered by insurance and I do have the VA.
Yeah.
So whenever I need to reach out for, you know, some type of mental health services, they're always available.
And do you find that it's been helpful for you, or?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I recommend everyone go to therapy.
Do it.
I think we all need therapy.
Yes.
You don't have to tell anyone. It
Yeah.
can stay between you and your doctor. But it's such a good thing because it kind of, like when we tell someone else our story, it reveals blind spots that we don't see if we just keep, you know, pushing forward and white knuckling it every single day.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for telling your story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a crazy story.
That.
It's wild. I think it's a little bit anticlimactic.
No, what?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I think things would have been different for me if I would have, say, like, I was drinking and driving, I got in a car accident, and then I ended up in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, like, I screwed up, and now, like, this is my punishment. But this is like, hey, like, I just went to the doctor, and I trusted in the doctor, and this is the outcome.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, it's a little tough, but I feel like the story isn't cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
But it's it is what it is.
Yeah. Did you ever end up talking to the hospital or complaining to the hospital, suing the hospital? You should.
So yeah, I tried. I tried.
That's like negligence. So.
Yeah. So we tried, and they gave us their answer. My ex-wife recorded the conversation at the time, which Texas is a one-party consent state, so you can totally do that.
Yep.
And we took all my we requested my medical documents, and we sent them off to the attorneys. Well, the attorneys took forever with them. There's a statute of limitations with it. We sent it off to the attorneys. They held it for quite a bit of time, and then they came back and said, hey, this is a 50-50 case. We need one more piece of evidence that'll take us over the top to guarantee a victory, because they were taking it on their dime. Because I didn't have the money to go to court with the military. Like, it's impossible. So they said they weren't willing to take on the case, and but to be honest, at that time, I think it was better that way. Like, obviously, like, everyone wants to make a large sum of money some way, somehow, but it felt really, like, degrading to have, like, a price put on my life. That the potential of my life that they took away from me. Like, I was working air conditioning and I was doing really well. And I was hoping to start my business one day. You know? And now I don't have that opportunity in that field. So, and I love working with my hands. But, you know, it is what it is. Can't change it, can't go back and change the past. I can just focus on today and make sure that I'm living a life that, you know, reflects my gratitude.
Definitely. That's amazing that you've been able to turn it into that, rather than just like a woe is me, right? Which is super easy to do. And just live in this sadness and this depression. So good for you for not. And for being a voice for others too, because this happens, maybe not the exact same scenario, but in general, you know, people receive injuries every single day.
Right.
So I think for you to be this, you know, voice of happiness, positivity, you know, I think that's the one takeaway. I think the one, like, silver lining or positive part of it.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely comes with a lot of hard work. I don't want to portray the image that every day is a walk in the park, because it's really not. But I think when you really start to look inward, and I'm big on, like, writing stuff.
Nice.
So, like, I'll do, whenever I'm, like, in a tough situation, I'll do a pros and cons list. So while the physiological responses may be, like, a little different, like, if I have anxiety, I'm sweating, rapid heartbeat and stuff like that. Once I start getting this list down, it's like, okay, I can understand that it's just a moment. And then after this moment, you know, things are going to settle down. Because after my injury, I started to deal with panic attacks. Because I was scheduled for another surgery, and I thought I was going to die. I really did, because I had no trust in the doctors. When one's telling me it's this and the other one's telling me it's something else, it's like, you guys are disagreeing and you want to cut me open. And I actually went under to go for the surgery. They ended up not doing surgery, but I ended up dealing with another issue. When they put the catheter in me, they put the wrong one, so I needed a coude, a 14 French coude tip, which it has like a little hook, like a little angle. And it, when they took it out, I lost over 1 liter of blood from it. And they ended up bringing out bags for a blood transfusion.
Yeah.
But I was coming out of anesthesia, so I ended up falling back asleep, and they were able to control the bleeding. And then I had to have another not an in and out catheter, just like a dwelling catheter, and for 2 weeks. And every time they took it out, it would bleed a little bit. But luckily, I don't feel it. But it's still like, who wants to see blood all over? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All over down there. It really scared me. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So like the anxiety attacks were there for a little bit. But the first time I actually ended up calling 911 because I thought I was gonna die. I thought I was having a heart attack or something. I had never had one before.
Sure. Yeah. They're scary.
Yeah. And then I go to the doctor, and I was super embarrassed because it's like, hey man, just sit in this room. You know, we're here if you need anything. And so I took a nap, and then they brought me back. Like I came back, and they're like, all right, you're good to go.
Yeah.
You know, but it was like really embarrassing. I never want to go through anything like that again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry that you felt embarrassed, but it's like, I mean, nobody knows until they go through it.
Yeah.
And it can, like, panic attacks can be explained to you, but until you've experienced them, I mean, you truly do think like you're dying. It's this like impending sense of doom, and like you can't breathe, and it's like this elephant sitting on your chest, and you can't think straight, and you get dizzy, and like I've had them.
Yeah.
I'm also aware of what they are, and seen them in other people. So, and it's really hard. You can't just be like, hey, snap out of it. You're okay. It doesn't work like that. You know?
What freaked me out was it started in my left hand, like a tingling in the fingertips. And then it started to work its way up. And I'm like, oh, this is a heart attack.
Yeah.
This is a heart attack.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I called 911, and I'm like, hey, like I'm dying. You guys need to come get me. Thankfully, it's the person that showed up, the paramedic that showed up, was familiar with my case.
Okay.
So he was super cool about it.
Nice.
Because I was freaking out.
Yeah.
Like, I was really freaking out.
Yeah.
And so he was really cool about it, and he was explaining me, keeping me, you know, in the now, and just letting me know that things are going to be cool.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad everything turned out well. Since then, I haven't had too many. So
yeah. And now you recognize the signs or the symptoms. You're like, okay, hold on, it's coming on. Like, hold on, let me breathe, or let me, you know, redirect my thinking. Yeah. Reground. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So walk me through something a little more positive, I guess, right? So you're changing this narrative of your life, which is fantastic. So somebody actually told me about you, and I can't remember who it was, but someone's like, you should talk to Wheelchair Poppy. And I was like, seriously? Like, that's his name? And they're like, yeah. So like, where did that come from?
Okay. So I used to have that handle on Twitter.
Okay.
There is another Wheelchair Poppy.
Okay.
He's from Texas too, I think. He's from like Dallas area.
Interesting.
So I changed my name.
Got it.
He has a big following, and that's like he's in his own lane.
See, I don't know who that is. So you're the only one for me.
Yeah.
You're the only one that I know.
And I've heard that from a lot of people. They're like, don't change it, don't change it. But I'm like, well, this guy's established already, you know what I mean? And I don't want to be confused with someone else.
Yeah.
But he, you know, I think he's an actor, and he does some other stuff. And he makes content, not the same content that I make. You know, nothing wrong with what he's doing.
Yeah.
But he's more into like the fashion, modeling, and then following trends, where I'm more like action driven as far as sports and sharing my experiences, you know, as I go. But his content is great, you know.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that would love it.
So, but where did you did you get that name from him, or you got that name just based off yourself? Did somebody call you that?
Yeah. So on Twitter.
Yeah.
I have a decent following, not great, not giant, but like the community is like super active all the time, engaging with everything.
Yeah.
And so I've gotten things I got the name from them, Wheelchair Poppy. I got Walking Poppy or Standing Poppy when I was using my exoskeleton.
Okay.
And so like people just send me stuff all the time, and I'm like, man, I like that.
Yeah.
Let's go with it.
Yeah.
So I had it for quite a bit of time, but now I definitely did a rebrand.
Okay.
Because I'm also in the process of launching my own project, my own business.
Oh.
And so I just want to make sure that I'm separated from,
of course,
you know, from everything else.
Yeah.
And so rebrand.
Yeah.
No longer Wheelchair Poppy. I am _Kevin_IO. That's me.
Got
so
it.
Kevin, you can call me Kevin.
Okay.
A lot of my military friends and friends from back home call me Fig. Or K-Fig.
Okay.
At the time, my defensive coordinator gave me the nickname K-Fig because it was K-Fed.
Yeah.
So that was my nickname, K-Fig. And then once I joined the military, I just turned to Fig because for whatever reason, people have a hard time pronouncing my last name, even though I don't think it's hard. But
was it Figueroa or what?
Yeah. But I've heard Figueroa, Figaro, Figuerera, Figoria. I've heard it all. But yeah, Figueroa.
Yeah.
That's my name. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. So what's this business? Or can you talk about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now I'm still working on getting my logo done, my website built and stuff like that. But just like I'm doing right now, just sharing my story.
Yeah.
I'm getting art done of pictures from actual pictures from my life that artists have created into an animated version of it.
Okay.
I'm working on an EP with a couple musicians from the community.
Nice.
And basically, they're going to mix my story into the soundtracks. I will also have the instrumentals available.
Really?
And then I'll have animations for each song.
Nice.
But that's just my introduction to the world.
Yeah.
Me introducing myself to the world. What I'm going to be selling is merchandise and accessories.
Okay.
That promote outdoor activity.
Yeah.
So typically, I don't have it right now because it just died on me. But I have a harness where I keep my keys and my wallet because I can't feel my legs. And so a lot of times, I'll drop my phone, I'll drop this, that, and the other. But I like to have it all consolidated up here.
Sure.
So I'll be doing chest harnesses, fanny packs, backpacks, duty belts, the whole nine. And then for the clothing, I will have blanks available of the same material that I'm using for anyone that wants to, buy blanks and create their own product.
Okay.
But I'll be, using my brand and my logo to create merchandise.
I love that. And it's all for ADA, people, sorry.
Yeah. No, yeah.
I'm trying to think of
I decided to go this route because I feel like there's a bunch of nonprofit organizations already out there that raise funds.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. What I want to do is raise awareness for them.
Yeah.
And so once I start raising funds, I want to donate to them because they're already long and standing.
Yeah.
So there's another member in the community, wheelchair community. His project is called Life Goes On.
Okay.
His name is Art, and he plays basketball for the Golden State Warriors para team. And so it's all wheelchair team, and so he raises funds and he donates chairs for someone that wants to get included into the sport. And there's a whole bunch of others, whether you need medical necessities and stuff because it's not cheap.
Yeah.
It's not cheap. Being in a wheelchair is a full-time job. It really is. So I want to use my platform to highlight their platform and say, hey, look, I know that I'm just one side of this thing.
Yeah.
There are many others out there.
Yeah.
And if you want to get involved, it's important to fund those nonprofits so that other people can get an opportunity.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I love that.
I'm lucky. I'm so lucky that I'm covered by the VA.
Yeah.
But what if you don't have insurance and this happens to you?
Yeah.
What then? Everyone deserves a fair shot.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that I'm being wise with my time and I'm utilizing my platform to highlight other people's platform and hopefully inspire people to get out of their room.
Of course.
Because that's what it's really easy to stay in your room.
Yeah.
But you're not going to find anything by staying in there and find any happiness. I mean, 4 walls more than likely is going to lead to depression and negative habits. So
yeah, you're definitely inspirational.
Oh, I appreciate that.
For sure. And you're an athlete as well, right?
Yeah. So I've been away for a little bit from San Antonio Spurs, the Parasport Spurs, which is San Antonio's version of wheelchair basketball.
Okay.
And so we have a D2 and D3 team. And so they go compete every year in the NWBA, National Wheelchair Basketball Association.
Okay.
And every year they have nationals and stuff like that. So And then they have their own like donation area where you can donate to, so they can pay for hotels, travel, wheelchairs and stuff like that.
Nice.
I also train jujitsu, which is completely modified for me. I trained jujitsu before, but now it's like a whole different ball game. And I'm sponsored by the We Defy Foundation.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
and they're a nonprofit for combat veterans with some sort of injury.
Yeah.
And they're great. They pay for your training. They pay for your uniforms. They send you an initial 2 gis and a rash guard, a full set of rash guards. And they're so active in the community. I absolutely love them. They're always hosting events, whether it be like Memorial Day Ruck or a seminar, and all the funds go to sponsoring athletes.
Nice.
So the platform's always growing.
Yeah.
And, they have a lot of visibility because jiu-jitsu is just blown up everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's anything I can help with for anything that you're a part of, like, please let me know. I would love that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we'll be in touch, and I'll definitely, whatever they have, we host, like, it's up to the athletes to host local events. I don't know exactly where they're located, but yeah, I mean, they're a great platform, and so is Parasport Spurs. But I need to get back out there. I've been taking care of other things in my life. Like right now I'm in the process of closing on my second house.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
In this market, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's terrible. I refinanced my current one. Man, I had such a beautiful low payment, and now I had to refinance, and now my payment's higher. But this other property, I'm end up renting my current house. This other property is just over 3 acres.
Nice.
And so my mom just moved out here.
Okay.
And we're gonna focus on creating like a family farm.
Yeah.
So I have my 2 youngest brothers and sisters are 5. They turn 6 in July.
Babies.
Like I said, Mexican. We you know what I mean? We start young, we end like until it's over.
Yeah.
My mom started over like at 45. It's
oh
crazy.
My God.
It's crazy.
Shout out to your mom.
Yeah, for real. Shout out, Mom. And so my mom comes from an agricultural background. You know, first generation. She came here when she was 17, had me when she was 19. And so there's a lot of like traditional values and stuff and like lessons that she wants to leave for us, which I think is a lot better than leaving like a large sum of cash.
Sure.
Because, you know, she's showing us how to grow crops, how to tend to animals, how to butcher animals, how to, you know, do everything. And so I think that's like, I'm really looking forward to that opportunity because I'm like, wow, what a blessing it is to be able to have not a huge piece of property, but a decent piece of property where we can expand and grow as a family.
Yeah.
So I'll have my own house. They'll have their own house. And then I'm hoping to build, we're going to have like the corrals in the back and then like our harvesting area. But my long-term goal is to build separate dwellings for, say, like my sisters that are older.
Yeah.
And if they ever want to come and visit, or if they ever decide to move out here, you have somewhere to stay.
That's
you know?
awesome.
So it's kind of like in Mexico, you know, like everyone's like kind of tight-knit community.
Of course.
Yeah. So that's, and especially in America where it's like you see people leaving their house when they're 17, 18. I left when I was 15, which is why I got in trouble. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a dream. It's a dream come true. And I'm just, again, thankful. And I'm like, every day I got to do something that's like pushing me towards that positive direction.
I love that.
So I had to take this house situation is tough because, like you said, these market conditions, no one wants to negotiate.
Yeah.
No one wants to do anything. So it's like, it's really, you're fighting tooth and nail. This is the longest I've had to fight for a house.
Yeah.
It's been crazy.
Yeah.
But hopefully that should be done next month, early next month. And then I can finalize, focus on finalizing my project.
Yeah, that's amazing. If you have chickens, can I come play with them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
I was thinking about getting some. Like,
I love chickens.
Some of the fluffy ones.
Yes.
Just for show.
Oh my God, I love them so much. I don't know why. I want chickens so bad. Yeah.
You should.
I want to.
It's hard in city limits though.
Yeah.
So what my neighbors did, I'm still in city limits. So what they did was they got just hens. Because you don't need a rooster unless you want to breed.
Yeah.
They'll still lay eggs all year.
Yeah.
If just hens.
Yeah.
And so he has them and they don't make a peep. Not one peep. Yeah. Sometimes you'll see them jump on top of like this little cage
Yeah.
when they want to roost.
Yeah.
But there's like, you don't hear them, you don't interact with them. So they're super smart and they know what they're doing.
I want the eggs, but I also want to build like a little home for them and name them and just, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I think they live for like 3-4 years.
easy. Done.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you're going to have cows?
No.
No?
I think that's too much.
Goats?
Goats, chickens,
horses,
and quail.
Quail.
Yeah. Have you ever had quail eggs?
No, I've had quail.
They're super rich.
Okay.
Quail eggs are super rich.
Are they like little though?
Yeah, they're like that. Yeah.
Good protein.
Yeah, I mean, they're a lot more flavorful than your traditional egg.
Really?
Yeah. But like we've been talking about this market.
Yeah.
Egg prices keep going up, meat prices go up, milk prices go. Like, what's milk? $6-7 a gallon now.
I don't buy milk, but
it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, my youngest, he loves milk. Like that's his thing, just milk.
Yeah, I do no milk in the house because I'm like, we're not baby cows. Honestly, it's because I saw a Netflix documentary that changed my life. 6 years ago. So I went vegan for like a summer, which is expensive as shit. But I haven't drank milk since then.
What is it about the documentary that puts you off?
So it's the way that milk is like produced, the hormones, the way that the cows are being treated, the conditions that they're living in, all the antibiotics, preservatives, all that's in the milk. Also not our version, but our bodies people say like, oh, our bodies are changing. Like my body doesn't react to milk the same way. Well, because it's not the same milk. Right. Now there's a lot more in it. Boys that are drinking this milk are now having higher levels of estrogen. And it's messing with puberty, not just milk, right? A lot of things, all the preservatives and shit that we eat, everything. It's in everything. So we can't fully avoid it unless we have like a full functioning farm. But milk is like a huge one. And so I just completely cut it out.
I had an uncle in California who had his own farm and he had a milk factory. And so, like the conditions weren't great. Like they're all lined up in like, they have a front fence and a back fence. And they're all lined up right there just eating. And they just put the suction cup underneath. Yeah. But I will say that milk straight from the cow is wonderful, especially when it's still warm. Yeah. The only thing you got to remove is like the little skim on top. You remove that. Oh man, it's I love it. I love it.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So what else do you have coming up that you're looking forward to? I mean, that's a lot. You've given me a lot, but anything else maybe like personally?
Yeah, so an event that I was supposed to go to the wheelchair games this year in New Orleans.
Oh, nice.
And do the summer sports clinic again in San Diego. Okay. I ended up having to cancel. So my son's coming out for the summer, and so I wanted to make sure that I was, I want to bond with him more than just like taking him with me to go do this wheelchair stuff. I can do wheelchair stuff any day. Sure. I don't he comes from California. I don't always get to see him. So I just want to make sure I was there. And then in August, I have an event in Las Vegas called Rare Evo. Okay. Formerly, it was held in Denver. It's a giant crypto event. They're combining NFTs and the tech side, and it's going to be a great time. Like every time, I don't know if you've ever been to a crypto event. No. They're absolutely incredible. Really? Yeah, they're incredible. Are you familiar with much of crypto or anything like that?
I mean, I know what it is, but I haven't really gotten into it.
Yeah. So, I mean, like talking about the market, it's, I think the market's crazy right now. Yeah. And we've seen multiple banks shut down, and whenever something like whenever we need to give foreign aid, we're just printing money, devaluing our dollar. That's why groceries are going up, gas goes up, and so on. So what freaks me out is if I want to go to the bank one day and just withdraw my cash, they don't have it. Or they give you a hard time. So, I started off with regular stocks. Yeah. And regular stocks were great to me, and I still do regular stocks. But I like to diversify. I don't like to keep all my eggs in one basket. So I started doing crypto about 5 years ago. It's been a journey. I will say it's been up, and I thought I was like, man, this is so easy. Yeah. And then it went all the way down. But it's definitely an emerging market, emerging economy. I mean, the things that are happening in crypto now are incredible. There's always going to be the bad stuff. Like there's always, we call them rugs, but it's where people like start a startup and then they just take all the money and run instead of coming through with the product. But now you're seeing things like computing cloud services on there. You're seeing lending protocols. You're seeing there's a big art scene in crypto where it's like the artists can sell their work with royalties. There's different platforms where they sell and they can reach a bigger audience.
The NFTs, right?
Yeah, NFTs. Because NFTs are, what I like to look at them is just a perk of the brand.
Yeah.
So there's the brand, and then an NFT allows you to get exclusive perks.
Right.
For example, like the shoes that I'm wearing.
Kicks.
These are shoes from a company called Ormob, a project called Ormob. And it's like a kind of like an anime theme project.
Okay.
The artist is originally from somewhere in Europe, but he moved to Japan to kind of embed himself in the culture, and his artwork is incredible. I'll show you after the podcast.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. And now he's doing like merch, like clothes, shoes, and these shoes, like I absolutely love them. And it was just an exclusive thing. You had to hold an NFT to be able to purchase it at the time. So I think it's a really good incentive.
Yeah.
And especially with artists, I'm not sure how they typically sell outside of like a floor. Or like a flea market or something.
Yeah. Well, once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
So with NFTs, they still keep their rights and they can still get like a percentage.
Yep.
So it's not just completely gone.
Yes.
And because then people can resell. So they're reselling and profiting off of these artists with traditional art, where NFTs they don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they have that, and then they can do additions. So they'll have like they'll only have 10 available. And what's cool is like anyone says like, oh, I can right click and save. But it's like you don't own the IP to it.
Right.
You don't have the metadata to it and stuff like that. And a lot of times these NFTs come with like just the regular picture, and then there's like more exclusives down at the bottom, which is what I'm following, where it's like, hey, like I'm gonna have pictures, but I'm also gonna have this audio of my story, in depth. No holds bar.
Yeah.
I have on Twitter they're called Spaces. It's kind of like going live. So I have a space coming up with a prominent member in the community, Stevie. He has a project called Wildcards every Friday. But he's a teacher. So he's doing a separate project that's a little bit more intimate, and it's called The Professor's Notebook. And I've known Stevie from the community for quite a bit of time. Met him last year at NFT XLV, and we just hit it off. And he has a friend that is also in a wheelchair. He was running the marathon when they have the bombing.
In Boston?
Bombing.
Yeah.
And so we just clicked right away.
Yeah.
And he's going to be interviewing me, and Stevie has no filter.
Yeah.
So it's going to be great.
Yeah.
So, I mean, once that's done, we're going to mix it into the music.
Yeah. And
then have all that available. And I just want it to be like, hey, this is like, again, this is my introduction.
Yeah.
You can have, like, I'm going to share with you everything that you want to know. And, I'm doing the merch and accessories afterwards. And if you can get behind me and this is something you can see yourself supporting, if you're willing and able, contribute. And if you're not, I appreciate your support. And if you don't want to mess with me, then that's cool too. No hard feelings.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was teaching my son. We were kind of talking about it off camera, but I taught my son about NFTs. And so that's why I got him the iPad and was like, son, you better start making this money. I was like, but also this is a way for you to keep your art while also selling it, right? You still get to keep a portion of it and still continue to profit from it. And again, he's young, he's a teenager. So I'm thinking long term.
Right.
So yeah, I'm like, just teach yourself digital art.
Yeah. And I think, there's a lot of resistance from like the older population or people that aren't really, like maybe they hear stuff on the news or hear stuff from a friend how they were scammed. But I mean, that happens everywhere.
All the time.
People with like that collect shoes.
Yeah.
People try to sell fake shoes all the time.
Yeah.
Then you have these like pyramid schemes for like regular stuff. Scams are going to be everywhere. Sure. But it's very important to do your due diligence and make sure that you're doing your research before you jump into anything. You can't just throw money at something and expect it to stick. Sometimes it happens when it's a bull market and everything is going up. You feel great because you're like, man, I just turned $50 into 500 and it's just like overnight. I didn't do anything. Yeah. But now that it's the bear market, it's like, man, I just spent $50 and now it's at 20,
Yeah.
you know, which is really scary.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has to do with kind of like our government, because there's no guidance.
Yeah.
There's no real, like 1 week something is legal, the next week something is illegal. And unlike Japan has a beautiful structure where they're not really like in your nose doing a lot of these restrictions. They're giving guidance. And a perfect example of that is when they had FTX I don't know if you've heard of Sam Bankman-Fried. He has like a big fro. He was on the news because he had this big exchange, international exchange. He had a U.S. one and an international one, right? One in Japan. And in the U.S., the government doesn't mandate one-to-one backing for assets. So he had it, hey, I'm not going to use your funds, blah, 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 in the underwriting. But his assets weren't backed one-to-one. So when everything went under, everyone in the U.S. lost their money, to include Tom Brady, which was like a big, like he was the face of it basically for a little bit. They used a lot of well-known people, celebrities. While in Japan, they mandated the one-of-one. So when the company went under, everyone got their money back. And I think that's crucial, and that's missing here in the United States.
For sure.
Because it would just give people peace of mind.
Yeah.
And I know it's not going to happen, you know, overnight, but like you said, you're teaching your son to explore and venture off into this ecosystem. It's going to happen, you know, 2-3 generations from now where it'll be fully implemented. And that's my hope.
Yeah. Awesome. This is nice. I like this. This is a good conversation.
Yeah.
Well-rounded. Oh my God. Do you have any questions? I feel like he has questions. No? Every now and then he will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Every now, it's true. He'll text me. He's like, hey, ask this. It's very rare, but this is a good conversation. So I can like sense we've been working together for a long time. But yeah. So tell me a little bit more like about yourself, or like, I don't know, kids, family, like.
Yeah. So I have 2 kids, 2 boys.
Yeah.
I have a 14-year-old, which I had in high school. And then I have my youngest son, who's 4 years old.
Yeah.
He was born before I was in a wheelchair, but he's too young to remember anything really.
Yeah.
But it's been cool because like he understands, like he likes doing stuff with my wheelchair. Like, I'll show you after if you want, but my car seat from my truck comes all the way down. And then I have a lift that swings over and picks up my wheelchair and takes it to the bed of the truck.
Yeah.
So he likes pushing the buttons to put my chair back on.
And
then he likes trying to take the hook off my chair.
Yeah.
And he puts it like at an angle for me.
Yeah.
So he knows. He's like, wheelchair. And I'm like, yeah, dude, it's a wheelchair.
It's so sweet.
Yeah. But what I like is when he's lazy, and say we're out, he sits on my lap and I just roll him. You know what I mean?
He's like, I'm tired.
Which gives me peace of mind because I don't want him running off or someone snatching him.
True.
So like he's here with me and it's pretty cool. So yeah. But I will say that it's been very different and it's been a huge adjustment being a dad in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Like these things don't come with instructions.
Right.
You have to figure it out on your own.
I mean, being a parent in general doesn't.
Oh, yeah,
so
absolutely.
And then you add being in a wheelchair.
Yeah. And since he has autism, he doesn't really understand like when I'm sick or when I'm hurting. He just kind of like, he wants me to go through with everything that I'm doing. So it's definitely been an adjustment. I will say that I'm the master diaper changer. I am like the best diaper changer in a wheelchair. And I think jiu-jitsu has really helped me with that because I'm on the ground all the time. And the doctors tell you don't be on the ground. But
Really?
I mean, it's padded. Yeah, it's padded and stuff like that. But I do, shout out to my school, Semper Fortis Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
Shout out Professor Saad and Sway. They're always there for me. They make training really easy and comfortable for me, and they push me to my limit.
That's awesome.
So for example, like doing battle ropes and then doing like kettlebell stuff and just transitioning during drills, it helps me stabilize my core. Like I feel like my core is pretty strong for the minimal amount that I have. And so that I can do like deadlifts basically without needing to push off my legs, which is super freaking cool because I couldn't do that in the beginning.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely helped. But for my kids, it's super interesting. So my oldest would push me sometimes when we go somewhere like up this big incline that you have here.
Sorry about that.
And then he hits me with Dad, I didn't think I'd be doing this so young.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, man, but it's pretty cool, right? We're still hanging out, right? And he's like, yeah. But it's been a blessing because, before I was working full time and from sun up to sundown, working air conditioning. And now it's like available for my kids at all times.
Yeah.
And I think it's just such a blessing to be able to, one, be alive, but two, get to be there for my kids more directly than I would have been if I was still working, a full-time job.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And then, I'm sorry.
No, good.
Then with my mom coming out here, she just moved out. I like to say that I started the Great California Mass Exodus.
Okay.
Because I came here 14 years ago.
Yeah.
And I had good people in my ear because they were like, hey, when you get here, like now that you're here and this is your first duty station, change your residency from California to Texas.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did.
Nice.
Because otherwise I'd be paying California state taxes, they're horrible.
Yeah.
That's a big reason why I decided to stay here after the military. One, because my youngest son is here, and I missed out on that opportunity with my oldest because I was always deployed and his family was over there. So he's here, his mom's here, and I get to, I have him anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week.
Nice.
So I'm basically 50-50.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool, yeah. Like I just want to be the best dad possible. Now with my mom coming out here, I didn't ask her to, but I couldn't keep her from coming.
Yeah.
She was like, no, like I'm going out there.
Aww.
You need help. Like I have a 2-story house. I can't go upstairs. And so she, like her husband, helped me maintain the house. They bring life into the house. Like my mom's super into plants. Like, and so we have like a nice garden. Like we're growing like habaneros and watermelons. We just cut them off. And we have birds in the house now, which has always been a thing. Like my mom's big into animals and stuff.
Okay.
So I have like parakeets. Then I have canaries. Then I have 2 dogs. So like the house is always full of love and full of noise with my little brother and sister.
Yeah.
And it's really been helpful for my son because, before he was kind of like antisocial, like not really paying any mind to kids. But now with them, they're running around, jumping, doing just like a whole bunch of crazy stuff. So
yeah, that he has somebody to socialize.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I'm glad that you're here. Like not just here, but like in life here.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
And in life, it's just like, it's not easy.
Yeah. Because,
you might have like a run of 2 or 3 good days, and then the next you're just like miserable.
Of course, yeah.
But it's just such a joy and experience. And I think I really have to lean on my experience with therapy.
Yeah.
A lot of that CBT and DBT is like, it's so important to reframe the way you're thinking because a lot of us like don't get support from outside. No one's telling you that you're doing a good job. Now, a lot of us are really hard on ourselves, and you tell yourself like all the craziest thing, like, oh man, you're dumb for doing this, you're dumb for doing that, or like, this, that, and the other. But it's you need to be your number one fan. Yeah. You need to tell yourself that you're going through a tough time, but you're gonna get through this. Right. This feeling is temporary. Right. And then you got to move on to the next thing. Yeah. And that's why it's important to get outside, get some sun, get that vitamin D. For sure. Get active, be active in the community. And that's one thing that I want to be, I've actually been trying to do more, which is why when I found your page, I was like super awesome because I think I started following SA Current first. Yeah. And then once I started doing that, then I saw you on my For You page. And then I was like, man, she does some really cool stuff. Thank you. So I shot you the follow. And I'm like, yeah, you do a lot of stuff in the community. I do what I do in the community is typically like at the gym or with a team, or I go to the Traders Village, the flea market. I love flea markets. I'm a big flea market guy. Yeah. The Pearl and the art museums and like what's the Whitty Museum and stuff like that. But I really want to start getting into more of community-led things. Like I saw last weekend they had some bands playing. So I want to go out there and so I have my GoPro, I have my camera, and I have my microphones, and I want to start doing like a little vlogging. I'm not great at it. It's all me, I'm all doing this all by myself. So it's all learning as I go. But I want to show people that, no matter what happens to you in life, like you can overcome anything, and just get out there in the community. Like, go talk to people.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Because just because you're going through something doesn't mean that someone else isn't going through anything.
Right.
And it's important to listen to other people, hear their story, hear their perspective, and just get some of that cross-pollination going.
Definitely. You know? Yeah.
Because someone, like, you might hear someone's story and maybe stuff doesn't impact them directly, but they know someone.
Yeah.
They have someone in their life that's like that. And like, I've been stopped multiple times, like, while I've been pumping gas with people saying like, hey, I have my cousin or my friend, my brother is in a wheelchair too. And, you know, he's kind of down in the dumps and this, that, and the other. And so do you mind showing me how your car works, how you drive, how you do this? I'm like, yeah, no problem. So sharing that and then showing that there is a way. You just got to get out of your room.
Yeah.
But then that kind of goes back into highlighting some of these other nonprofits where it's like, you know, this is being a full-time job, being in a wheelchair, making sure that you're on top of your bowel, your bladder, you're listening to your body, you're hydrating. Mm-hmm. You know, it's important to have those resources available, because a box of catheters, like the ones that I use, goes for like $30 or $40, mm-hmm. and that's like 30 catheters. Yeah, that's like 1 week. Yeah, you know what I mean? Now imagine you don't have insurance. Yeah. And there are like some low-cost pharmacies out there, mm-hmm. but you got to go look for them. Right. You got to go look for them. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And some people are just getting by with the bare minimum. Mm-hmm. Like, they're working to make sure that they're not going into like autonomic dysreflexia. Right. Or anything else. They're not suscepting themselves to, you know, getting ill, sepsis or anything like that. So. Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot on top of everything else that you have going on, right? On top of your life. Yeah, staying on top of your body. Yeah. It's the most important. Yeah, man. Well, thank you so much for being here. Yeah, is there anything that you wanted to say to maybe like family, friends out there, people that you work with, like a final note? Yeah, so actually one last thing on the crypto side. Yeah. I just want to give a shout out to Epic Innovation Center here in San Antonio. San Antonio is very lucky to have a crypto, well, it's Cardano is the name of the blockchain. ADA is the currency in that blockchain. We have an actual brick and mortar facility here in San Antonio. They have pickleball courts, they have a pro shop, and they do screen printing. So this is their shirt. Nice. And so last year, for example, they had the Cardano Summit here. The main one is in Dubai, mm-hmm. but they have satellite ones all over the country. So if there's anyone that ever wants to go out and learn more, if this is something that interests you, maybe you just show up for pickleball and you want to play, and maybe you just get that itch or that urge to learn a little bit more. And then there's someone there always to talk to you, and they'll be holding, you know, events throughout the year. Nice. Just to kind of, you know, share this knowledge with people so that people aren't just listening to, you know, the negative stigma. Yeah. So big shout out to them. Big shout out to the Cardano community. They've been by my side since I was in the hospital. It was peak pandemic. There was visiting hours. Everything was so limited. Yeah. And while I was going through this, they were all there by my side. And so it's been such a joy to share my journey and my experience with the community that just loves and supports me. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. And then how do people follow you? All right. So I am only on Instagram and Twitter, or X. Same handle. It's at _Kevin_IO. Cool. Yeah. And if there's anything that I have going on as far as like networking or events, I'll start inviting you if you want to come. Yeah, let me know. Let me know. I'll be out there. I'll take my GoPro and I'll make the best of it. You know? Let's do it. I'll progress as I go. Yeah. You know, maybe the footage will come out choppy a little bit at first, but then I'll go. Because if you look at my videos right now, they're all usually like action with music in the background. Got it. Because I was using GoPro Studio Pro, whatever it is. Yeah. But I also have Adobe Rush, and so I can do it. But I'm always like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. You know. So, but I definitely need to start being more adventurous. And kind of get out there. And just share this. But sometimes it's hard when you're holding the camera and people are walking by. Of course. Yeah. So I don't know if you got any tips with that. That'd be great. I got you. I'll help you. All right, for sure. Yeah. Well, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Yes, of course. Guys, make sure that you follow, like, share, support, everything. Thank you again to VodPod Media and to Latina Podcast Network. I hope you enjoyed it. And just make sure that you support him and all of his endeavors, everything that he does. Again, thank you for being here. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.